So welcome back folks, this is Shardul Gavande from Ace Knowledge, and in this video we will understand how our radio buttons and rating bar works. So over here I have already created a design which you can see in the emulator. The design contains of text views, then radio buttons, radio groups inside which we are having radio buttons as male and female. You can see it over here. We are having over here as radio group, and inside radio group we have radio button 1 and radio button 2, which is nothing but your male and female value. Okay, then we have raters, which consist of rating bar over here. I've just simply dragged and dropped the rating bar from the GUI panel. Okay, and then your button, submit button. Okay, and here we are having as text views. Now we have to code in such a way that on selecting of particular radio button and on giving rating, we have to show these both values over here in the text view as your gender, which you will select, and you rated as the rating which you will give. Okay, so this is the task which we have to perform in this video. So let's start with the coding part. So in the main activity over here, I've already defined GUI components which we have used, and I've created over here a method as public void submit. So now what is the reason to create this method? So I've created this method so that we'll code whatever our coding part will be there, our functionality will write that particular thing over here in this method, and finally we'll call this submit method over here in the onCreate method, so that it makes easy for us to understand the flow, as in from where the program is starting, where in which loop it is entering, which method is being called. So because on onCreate method it will be like everything will be clumsy, and it will be very large code, and it will not be easy to understand. So that is the reason I've created method. It is always good to create a method and call it in onCreate. Okay, so that it looks like we are actually coding and not just writing an essay. Okay, so now let's start with creating now listeners for a submit button. So a button name is submit dot set on click listener. Oops, sorry, set on click listener. In that new, then view on click listener, and here is the on click method created. Okay, so now in this method we will write our whole and soul coding part. Now what the very first thing we have to do is to get these values, radio button values. We'll go step by step. Okay, so we have to get this radio button values. So for that reason we'll create an integer variable over here as select id equal to our radio group, as this radio buttons are in the radio group. This radio group is nothing but which I have declared over here. Okay, so radio group dot get checked radio button id semicolon. So now this statement defines that the radio button which you will select will get checked over here by its id. Okay, the id of the selected radio button will be fetched through this statement, and it will be stored in this selected id integer variable. Now we need to pass this, or you can say you need to use this particular variable selected id. So we'll write here as radio button, we'll create a reference variable as rb equal to radio button, and then radio group, as the radio buttons are inside radio group. So we need to mention the radio group over here, then find view by id, and we'll pass that particular int variable over here as select id. Okay, so id of the radio button which is selected, it will get that particular radio button id with the help of get checked radio button id method, and then we will pass that particular id over here in this selected id, and we'll call this selected id integer variable over here. So this is how the flow goes. Okay, now this we have not yet used radio button rb reference variable. We'll see it later where we can use it. We have to use it to display it in the text view, right? So now we have done with the radio button part by fetching that particular radio button id which we will select. Now we'll go with the rating part. We have to take the rating value and print it over here. Okay, so rating value, it will be in integer format, numerical format. So we'll declare a global variable over here as int. Let's try to declare it over here. So let's say what happens if we declare it over here. Int I. So let's take int I equal to, we'll parse it as int double. We need to pass that integer value to double because rating can be in points also. So string dot value of rating bar, which we want to fetch, dot get rating. Okay, so here it is showing that variable I is never used. Okay, so we'll see that when to use this particular variable. So as of now, we declare integer variable and pass it to double and get the rating value with the help of get rating. Fine. Now we need to display this both radio button and rating value in the text view. So let's call our text view id, which is display2 dot set text into bracket. We'll use that rb now over here as rb dot get text dot to string. As it is object, we need to pass it to string in order to display in text view. So rb dot get text dot to string. We'll call the second text view, which is display4 dot set text, where we will pass our rating value. Okay, so that I also needs to pass to string value. So string dot value of into bracket, we'll use that I over here. Okay, so here we have passed the radio button value over here in this display2 dot set text, and our rating value over here in this display4. So now we are done with the coding part in this method. We need to call this method over here in the onCreate method. Let's call it by using its name submit, and also on the button we need to call our button event, right? So but Android on click equal to on click method, we need to call that method. Is it the same name? Yes, it is the same name, on click. So now we'll run the program. Okay, so here is our emulator. So let's check the output whether we are getting it proper or not. So we'll select gender as male, we'll rate as 4, and let's hit the button submit. So yes, you can see it over here as your gender is male, which you have selected, and you rated 4. So this is how values are passed, or we can use radio buttons with into radio group and rating bar. So we need to typecast we need to typecast the integer value while using rating bar, that string that int value to string, because in text view we need to convert it properly, unless and until it will not be displayed. So this is the output which we have got. So that's it from this video. Thank you very much, and please do subscribe.